Good morning, everybody. Today is Friday, January 28th. It's our last school day in January. Very exciting. Monday will be February. But I want you to make sure that you have your journal ready because we are going to be using it a lot today. We have like 5 pages of work to do today, okay? I'm going to share my screen because I want to show you something before we get started. If you have a printer at home, you can print this so that you don't have to write it. But if you don't have a printer, you're going to have to write your answers. Okay, so in today's classwork, it's going to say Friday, Wit and Wisdom assignments. Okay. All right, so down here on the bottom, nope, sorry, not on the bottom. Up here where it says, the very first one, it says Student Handout 9A. If you have a printer, you can open this. It's not going to let me, of course, but it is cards. Here they are. It's 2 pages of these cards that we are going to use during the lesson. And you can print them and then cut them out if you have a printer at home, okay? If not, you're just going to be writing 6 total, okay? All right, so I wanted to show you that before we got started. And then I'm going to go ahead and start the video. As you can see, it's almost 20 minutes, so it's a pretty long video. Make sure that you have your Wit and Wisdom journal open and ready. You can go ahead and number. We're going to do pages 114, 115, 116, 117, and 118. And parents, if you are listening, you are going to need to help with pages 117 and 18 because you're going to need to write the questions out for them so that your child can answer the questions. Okay, all right, we're going to go ahead and get started.
Welcome back, Incredible Thinkers. I'm Sue Sabella, your Great Minds teacher. Let's see what we need for today. Today, you'll need handout 9A, the response cards for dream circles. If you have a paper copy of that handout, you'll also need scissors and glue or tape. The other thing that you'll need today is your journal and also your pencil. So please pause here to gather what you need and just hit play when you're ready to continue. Dr. King had a dream. Today, we're going to be able to learn more about what he wanted for the people of this nation and also for the children. Dr. King, in the I Have a Dream speech, has many dreams. He has dreams for the larger community, the people who live in states, and also our country or nation. Dr. King also had dreams that were very specific to the children in this country and even his own children. Today, we're going to explore his words more closely so we can think about if the dream was for children or if the dream was for the larger community and our nation. To be able to really understand Dr. King's dreams for 2 different groups, we're going to use these response cards to help us think about his dreams for children, and also his dreams for the larger community, the states, and the nation. The directions tell us to cut out the response cards below and sort them into 2 groups. If you're not able to cut out the response cards, no worries. I'm going to set you up in your journal so you'll be able to sort the ideas on these cards into 2 groups. If you'll be cutting out the response cards and taping them into your journal, you'll need scissors, tape, this handout, and your journal. If you'll be writing these sentences into your journal and not cutting out the cards, you'll just need your journal and a pencil. Please pause here to gather what you need, and if you're cutting the cards out, use this time to cut the cards out. Just hit play when you're ready to begin sorting.
Okay, so if you did print these 2 pages and you are going to cut them out, you don't have to use tape. You can use a glue stick if you have a glue stick. Doesn't matter. Either way is fine. If you are not printing the page and cutting them out, then just continue in the video.
Now I'd like you to pause here to set up your journal. Open your journal to 2 blank pages. On the left side, up at the top of the page, write Dreams for Children. On the right side of your journal, please write Dreams for the States/Nation. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so if we are on page 114 and 115, those 2 pages should be side by side like mine are. If you do not have these 2 pages side by side and you need to skip a blank page, just put a big X on it and don't number it. Make sure that your 114 and your 115 page are side by side, okay? And you're going to do what Miss Sabella said. First, put today's date, 1-29. Write Dreams for Children on page 114 and Dreams for State Nation on 115. Okay, so then do go ahead, pause and get that done, and then hit play.
Before we begin sorting the information on the response cards into 2 groups, let's take some time to read each card. You can read aloud with me, or you can pause here to read the cards to yourself and just hit play when you're ready to continue. If you read the cards to yourself first, you can use this time to just listen to them again and to begin to think about how you would sort them in your journal. Ready? Here we go. The nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. In Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together. Mississippi will become an oasis of freedom and justice. My 4 children will not be judged by the color of their skin. Little black boys and girls will join hands with little white boys and girls. Freedom will ring from the Rockies in Colorado. All God's children will sing My Country 'Tis of Thee with new meaning. Freedom will ring from the hilltops of New Hampshire. Freedom will ring from the mountains of New York. Freedom will ring from the slopes of California. Freedom will ring from Mississippi. Freedom will ring from every state. All God's children will be able to join hands and sing. We will transform our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. Symphony might be a new word for you. I'd like you to picture a musical concert or a group of people working on something together. That's what a symphony looks like. Let's get ready to do some thinking some close reading, and some sorting. Remember, if you do not have your response cards cut out, that's not a problem at all. You'll just be writing the information on each page. Ready? Let's start with the first card at the top. The card reads, "We will transform our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood." When I read this card, and I have to decide if this dream was for the children that Martin Luther King Jr. spoke about in his speech, or for the larger community, the states, and the nation, there's a clue in this card to help me with my sorting. I see the word nation. We will transform our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. This is a dream that Dr. King had for all the states and the nation. Pause here to move your card or to write the information on this page. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, I want you to stop right here for a second, because if you cut out your card, that's not a problem. You can just move it over to where it's supposed to go and glue or tape it on. However, if you are writing it, I realize that you might not be able to fit all of these cards on your page because some of us write bigger than others. So before you start writing anything, you are only going to be required to have 3 dreams for children written down and 3 dreams for the states and nation written down, okay? So if you are writing them, you're only going to do 3. If you choose to write this first one that Miss Sabella works with us on, that's fine. You can do that. You don't have to. You can choose which 3 you want to do, okay? But you're going to have 3 dreams for children written and 3 dreams for states and nation written, okay? I just wanted to clarify that before you start writing everything.
Now let's take a look at the next card. All God's children will be able to join hands and sing. Which category do you think it belongs in? Is this a dream for children that Dr. King had, or for the larger community, the states, and the nation? Pause here to tell your learning partner or to point on the screen, and just hit play when you're ready to continue. You probably noticed the word children on the card. This was a dream that Dr. King had for the children. The first 2 cards that we sorted had clues on them to help us. For example, the dream that Dr. King had for children had the word children on the response card. The dream that Dr. King had for the states and the nation had the word nation in the sentence, and that helped us decide which category it went into. This next card, the 3rd card, does not have such a clue. It's really going to require close reading and some powerful thinking. Ready? Here we go. Freedom will ring from the hilltops of New Hampshire. When I think about this dream that Dr. King has for people, I ask myself a question. Does he have this dream for just children, or would he want this for everyone? I would think that he wants freedom for everyone, which would be the larger community, the states, and the nation.
Okay, so another clue here that you should notice when doing this one is it says the name New Hampshire, and New Hampshire is a state. So that would go for states.
Pause here to move your card or to write the information on this page. Just hit play when you're ready to continue. I'd like you to try this next card on your own. Read the card closely and then ask yourself this question. Is this a dream for children or a dream for the states and the nation? Just hit play when you're ready to check.
Okay, so it says little black boys and girls will join hands with little white boys and girls. What clues do you see and hear in that card that tells you where it should go? I see the words boys and girls, little boys and girls. That tells me that they are talking about children.
This was a dream that Dr. King had for children. Although the word children was not on the card, there were other words in the sentence that gave you a clue. What were those words? Point to them on the screen or shout them out loud. You probably noticed the word little, the word boys, and the word girls. When we put together little with boys and girls, we picture children. Again, this was a dream that Dr. King had for children. Pause here to move your card or to write the information on this page. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so remember, you are only required to do 3 of each. So if you choose to write these 2 for each one already, you will only have to do 1 more, or you could just write 1 of them and do 2 on your own. It's up to you.
Now it's your turn to sort the rest of the response cards. I encourage you to sort before you start taping anything down. If you're writing the information from the cards into your journal, this will stay up on the screen while you're on pause. Pause here to do this work and just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so you are going to have 3 on each side. Okay, guys? 3 dreams for children, 3 dreams for states and nations. The ones with the green line through it are the ones that are already on the screen. The ones that are left, the nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. In Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together. Mississippi will become an oasis of freedom. My 4 children will not be judged by the color of their skin. Freedom will ring from the Rockies in Colorado. All God's children will sing My Country 'Tis of Thee with new meaning. Freedom will ring from the mountains of New York. Freedom will ring from the slopes of California. Freedom will ring from Mississippi. Freedom will ring from every state. And while you are doing this, I want you to think about, what does the clue say? Does it say things about children? Do you see the word children or boys or girls in the text? Or do you see things where it names a specific state? Or does it say the word nation? Look for those clues to decide which side it needs to go on. And remember, you need 3 dreams for children, 3 dreams for states and nation. So pause the video now, make sure you have 3 on each page, and then hit play.
Pause here to take a stretch break and just hit play when you're ready to continue. Please pause here to grab your journal and a pencil, and then open it up to a blank page. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so we're going to be on page 116 now in your journal. Page 116. And we're going to write this question on top of the page. And Miss Sabella is going to show it again in just a second, I think. If not, go ahead and write it on your page now.
As you sorted the response cards, you were putting the dreams for children together and also the dreams for the nation. Now I'd like you to think about what is the connection or the relationship between the two groups. Specifically, what's the relationship between Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream for children and the dream for the nation? Pause here to jot down your thinking in your journal and just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so you are going to write this question on the top of the page and then go ahead and answer your question. Remember, this is your opinion of the relationship between Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream for children and his dream for the nation. So push pause, and when you are finished with your answer, you can hit play.
When we think about the relationship between Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream for children and the dream for the nation, it helps to picture the nation as very large. Our nation is our country, and it holds all of us, including children. The small circle is his dream for children. It fits inside the large circle, his dream for the nation. His dream for children is part of his dream for the nation. Please pause here to add to your writing or to draw a picture that captures our thinking. Just hit play when you're ready to continue. The first time that we examined this photograph, we noticed, we did some thinking, and we wondered. As we revisit this photograph and you examine or look at it closely again, I'd like you to keep this question in mind. What is the setting of this photograph? Pause here to jot down your answer in your journal. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so the next little bit of this lesson, we're going to be answering 6 questions in your journal, okay? And this is where parents might need to help you a little bit with writing down the questions. So on page 117, we're going to do 3 questions. And page 118, we're going to do 3 questions. And Miss Sabella is going to do the questions one at a time. So the first question that she just asked is, what is the setting? So you are going, there we go. You're going to write this question on the top of page 117, and then you're going to pause the video, look at the photograph, and answer the question. And then she's going to ask a second question, and you're going to add it onto your page. And then you will pause the video, look at the photograph, answer the question. Then she's going to ask a third question. You're going to write it on the page, pause the video, look at the photograph, answer the question. Okay, so you're going to write the question, pause the video. You probably need to pause the video first. Write the question and then answer the question before you move on in the video. Okay, for all 6 of them.
You probably noticed that people are walking along the top of a hill or a ridge in a field. There are no buildings and there are no trees. We can see far into the distance. There are big, dark clouds in the sky. Now I'd like you to zoom in with your examination to the middle or center of the photograph. Please point to the center of the image with your finger. What besides the people do you see toward the center of the image? Pause here to look closely and to jot down what you're seeing in your journal. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, now for some reason, Miss Sabella did not put this question on the top of the page. So the question that you're going to need to write, the second question is, what do you notice in the middle of the picture? So you need to write this as the second question for page 117. And so now I'm going to turn it back to the video so that you can observe the photograph. And if you want to just look at the photograph by itself and listen to the video, you can do that. I've included a copy of the photograph for you to look at on your own.
I bet you noticed the American flag in the center of the image. You probably also noticed that it's a bit higher than the line of people. Now I want you to focus in on the line of people. What do you think about the length of the line? Tell your learning partner or jot down your thinking in your journal. Pause here to do that now and just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so again, Miss Sabella did not post the question on the top of this page, but the question is, what do you think about the line of people? And she specifically said the length of the line of people. So think about that when you are answering the question. What do you think about the length of the line of people? Okay, so once you get the question written, go ahead and answer the question and then hit play. So you need to pause the video, answer the question, and then play.
When you looked closely at the photograph, you probably noticed that the people stretch all the way into the distance. It goes so long that we can't even see the end of the line. This is a photograph of an important march, and it was led by Dr. King in 1965. Dr. King and all the people in this march were protesting for African Americans' right to vote. Now I'd like you to answer the next 3 questions in your journal on your own. I'll read the questions, you'll pause to examine the photograph, and then you'll just hit play to move to the next question. Here we go. What sounds might you hear if you were marching? Pause here to think and to jot, and just hit play when you're ready to move to the next question.
Okay, so we are now on page 118. So you did 3 questions on page 117, and now we're on page 118. And the first question is, what sounds might you hear if you were marching? So, and Miss Sabella did put the question on the top of the screen this time. So I'm going to flip it back so you can do that. Make sure that you write the question and then answer the question before you push play to move on.
What do you notice about these people? Pause here to examine the photograph very closely, to think, and to jot your response to this question in your journal. Just hit play when you're ready to move to the last question.
Okay, so this is the second question for page 118. What do you notice about these people? So you're going to write it in the middle of the page. Make sure you write the question and then respond to the question before you move on.
What do their poses tell us about what the protesters might be thinking or feeling? The word poses means how are they standing? What do you think the protesters are thinking or feeling based on how they're standing? Pause here to examine their poses closely in the photograph and to think. Then jot down your response to this question. And then just hit play when you're ready to wrap up today's lesson.
Okay, and this is the last question that goes on page 118. It's going to be closer to the bottom. So you're going to write the question, pause the video, write the question, and then respond to the question before you move on.
Being an historian is hard work, but it's so interesting. How cool is it to examine historical photographs, to look at them more than once, and to really learn about history by thinking about the people and what's happening in those photographs? You've worked so hard today, and keep working hard, and I will see you again very soon.
Alrighty, guys. So that is the end of the video lesson, but that is not the end of our lesson, okay? So just to remind you, you had 5 pages to work on today during class. Pages 114 and 115 were Dr. King's Dreams for the Children and Dreams for the State Nation. Page 116, you were to answer the question, what is the relationship between Martin's Dream for Children and Dream for the Nation? And then on page 117 and 118, you had 6 questions to answer about the photograph, okay? So you are going to take pictures of all of those pages and insert them into the Google Classroom assignment. Apparently, Caitlin wants to say hi. She keeps sticking her hand in the screen. Do you see that? Okay. So what I want to do next is part of your assignment for today is about adverbs. We haven't really talked a lot about adverbs. So I am going to show you some information about adverbs. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again so that you can see the information about an adverb, okay? So what is different about these 2 sentences? We have people protested segregation. People peacefully protested segregation. What is the difference between those 2 sentences? How does that word that changed the sentence, peacefully, is in the second sentence. How does that word affect the sentence? Like if you just heard the sentence, people protested segregation, okay, I can picture all sorts of things in my mind. But if you say people peacefully protested segregation, then in my mind, I know that there was no violence, There was no fighting. There was no yelling and screaming at each other, but they probably just walked peacefully, quietly, without causing any problems or damage to property. They peacefully protested segregation. So let's look at this. We're going to circle the verb and underline the adverb, okay? So what is the action in this sentence? Is people an action? No, people is a noun. It's people, persons. Peacefully, is peacefully an action? No. Protested, is protested an action? Yes, protested is an action. So protested would be the verb. It describes what the people are doing. They protested. How did they protest? Did they protest peacefully? Yes. So peacefully would be our adverb. It describes how the people did the action of protesting. So an adverb is a word that adds to a verb. It's called an adverb. Okay. All right. So we're not going to do that part. So Martin Luther King Jr. spoke. Now, when we listened to him speak yesterday in the video, how did he sound? Martin Luther King Jr. spoke passionately. He spoke loudly. He spoke honestly. Those would all be adverbs to describe how he spoke. Okay, so you have a worksheet to do today, all right? And it has 8 sentences on it, and you are going to come up with adverbs, to describe the action in the sentence, all right? So number 1, the children play blank with each other. How did children play? Could we say happily? The children play happily with each other. Okay, and then there's another one. So we'll come back to the worksheet in just a minute. So why do writers use adverbs, and how do they work? Writers use adverbs because adverbs add detail about an action. How do adverbs work? Adverbs can describe verbs, and adverbs usually end with ly, but not always. And they can come before the verb or after the verb, okay? So here are some examples of adverbs. We have fairly, equally, peacefully, nicely, closely, confidently, loudly, and bravely. And I actually have another thing that I want to show you. Sorry, hold on one second. I'm going to stop sharing for my screen for just a second. I have included in your work today a list of adverbs, okay? It's a big section, a big chunk of adverbs. So adverbs describe how an action happens. And here are a bunch of adverbs for you to choose from to do your worksheet for today. So we have slowly, quickly, swiftly, speedily, loudly, silently, wonderfully, terribly, proudly, softly, quietly, bravely, boldly, fearlessly, fearfully, peacefully, calmly, anxiously, lovingly, kindly, gently, politely, angrily, fairly, unfairly, equally, unequally, nervously, happily, cheerfully, joyfully, sweetly, gently, seriously, rudely, barely, frequently, gradually, and faithfully. So those are a bunch of examples of adverbs, and I did include this into your classroom assignment for today, so you can use that if you need to. Let's go back to your worksheet that you're going to do today on adverbs. I'm going to show it to you. All right, so here is your handout. It's handout 9A on adverbs. It wants you to circle the verb in the sentence, okay? That means you're going to circle the action word. Then you're going to ask yourself, how do they do that action? Okay, so then you're going to choose one of those adverbs from the list that I gave you, or you can come up with your own adverb, that's fine. And you're going to write it on the line, okay? And then I want you to draw an arrow from the adverb to the verb, all right? And we did the first one together. I'm going to open this with Cami so we can do the first few together. Okay, so we said the children play happily. I need to put a text box there. So the children play happily with each other. Now I need to circle my verb, and I know play, didn't want it to be that big. Play is the verb, so I'm going to circle it. Now, how do the children play? In the sentence, it says they play happily. So I drew my arrow from the adverb to the verb, okay? Let's do another one. I don't want to do the same sentence twice. Okay, how about this one? The marchers listened to Dr. King. How did they listen? Which one of those is the verb? Which one is the action in the sentence? Listened is the action in the sentence for sure. So I'm going to circle listened. That's easier, right? Now, how did they listen? They listened intently. Okay, so now I need to draw a line from my adverb to my verb. Okay, here's another easy one. Dr. King treated people. How did he treat people? He treated people equally. Okay, so which one of these words is an action? Is Dr. King an action? Is treated an action? Is people in action? Treated is the action verb in this sentence. So we're going to circle treated. Now, how did he treat people? Equally. Good. So we're going to draw that arrow. Okay, so you are going to do this page on your own. Okay, I have included it in your Google Classroom assignment for today. So you're going to go ahead and do that tonight. Okay, and while I have you on here, I want to remind you guys that this week, you've had 2 question sets. You had question set 2 and question set 3 to do. So make sure you get both of those done this week, please. Also, don't forget that you need to log into Amplify before Sunday and get your beginning assessment finished so that next Monday you can start working on your 2 30-minute sessions a week for, you'll see my cat. Hi, Minerva. I don't know what she's doing. Anyway, so make sure you get your beginning test done on Amplify. And then there's one more thing I want to show you. If you notice on the Google Classroom stream page, for those of you, this is the stream page, okay? I have added something on our page. It's called Loop, okay? And it's where I'm just going to ask you questions sometimes, and it'll show up here on the stream. So make sure that you're checking your stream. What you'll do is you're going to sign in. You're going to click this screen right here, and it's going to take you to the sign in. Okay, which it's going to look different for me because I'm the teacher, but it's going to take you to a screen where you have to sign in with Google, okay? Because it will say sign in with Google, and you'll click your name and you'll click allow, and then you can answer the questions. Sometimes the questions are just going to be like smiley faces. Sometimes the questions are you're going to have to actually type out a response, okay? But that's something really cool that I wanted to show you, and I thought it would be a good way for us to keep in contact with, like if you understand the lesson or if you didn't know what was going on. It's kind of like an exit ticket if you guys remember those from school last year. But that's it. So make sure you check out Loop, make sure you get on Amplify. And then we're going to end the lesson today with a video of something that is from the civil rights movements, and it's here in Clinton, Tennessee, and some of you may recognize the person in the video. One second.
Recognizing the bravery of the Clinton 12. The Clinton 12 was the first group of Black students to be integrated into an all-white high school in Clinton, Tennessee. And my Nana is one of the Clinton 12.
We weren't hand-chosen, we were just the 12 that were ready to move on.
My grandmother did something extraordinary. The whole Clinton 12 is extraordinary.
Mostly it has an important role in history, and I like to call it our American history. It is part of something that needed to be done to correct some injustice, and the injustice was we're living in a town with a high school.
Right down the hill. That's one thing that my Nana was really adamant about, was she was saying that she had to ride 20 miles into Knoxville from Clinton, Tennessee to go to school.
We deserved to go to that school because it was our school, as well as the kids who were white.
It was against the law for them to go to this high school until it was integrated.
When the judge said you can now integrate Clinton High School, the 12 of us who lived here in Clinton said, yes, we're gonna do this.
They don't know what they're going into, and then they walk down the hill and there are just people lining the streets, throwing things, saying things, trying to break their spirit.
I almost cried to go back home because there were so many people, and they looked so mean. They looked like they just wanted to grab us and throw us out. They didn't want us at all. I could just see their hate in their heart.
No, we weren't going to be intimidated by walking down to the school, even though there were days when we were very fearful. We continued to walk.
I've been wanting to come here for a really long time, and I think that it's like a really special thing to be sharing it, especially with my Nana here. It's really amazing.
The first time I saw the statue, I just saw determination, incredible amount of courage.
For Cameron and Maya, it's just so important that they know they're standing on shoulders, and people before them really set the stage for them to do anything they want to reach their dreams.
Everything that they did and everything they stood up for and they believed in, that's what a hero is.
Greatness comes in many forms. You've taken a stance in your life and made a difference, not only for yourself, but for a whole community.
It's just crazy to think that she played such a big part in moving our history and our country forward.
I think the monument is a reminder, but I've always known that she was incredible, but now everyone else knows.
I'm glad that my family can look at me and feel like I was a good example, doing something that was really worthwhile.
Commemorating Black History Month. True heroes are timeless.
Okay, so as you heard, that was from the Green McAdoo Center in Clinton, Tennessee. And we had one of the very first groups of Black students integrate into a all-white public school here in Clinton, Tennessee. And the museum is up around Clinton High School, and you can go visit it. We normally take a field trip there every year, but we're not allowed to have field trips this year because of COVID. But if you or your family want to go, they are open. You just give a donation. There's no set fee to go in. And it's a really, really cool place to go and see how in Clinton, Tennessee, in your hometown, your history had a big impact on helping to end segregation and the civil rights movement. So that's all I've got for you today, guys. Hope you have a great weekend, and I hopefully will see you at school on Monday. Maybe we'll see. Bye, guys.